I am from New Hampshire, but I've been living in Boston for the past couple years, and now I'm here in Atlanta.
What was it like growing up in New Hampshire?
I have mixed feelings about this because I loved the fact that it was very rural, so I could always go exploring in the woods if I wanted to. There was always so much to do in nature. But the one bad thing about it is because I grew up in very rural New Hampshire, I had to drive very far to go do anything. Like the mall was 45 minutes away, the grocery store was really far away. So I had to really work on loving the outdoors, which I do love the outdoors still to this day.
So you said you were kind of in like a small town in New Hampshire.
Yes, very
What
small
what was kind of the vibe like of that town?
Farm, woods, forest, waterfalls, no commercial companies. So like no Walmarts, nothing like that.
Where'd you get your groceries then?
We had to drive to the next town over.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like a 20-minute drive.
Did you have like a really big like school, like a lot of people?
No, I actually graduated with like 39 students, I think it was. I can't remember correctly, but around there. I graduated with very little people in my class. And the entire high school was like 250 people combined. So it was very small.
So it was a kind of town like where everybody knew everybody?
Yes, everyone knew everyone. Everyone probably dated everyone at one point in high school. Like it was very close-knit for sure.
Did you like that kind of atmosphere, or do you kind of like it now in like a bigger city where you get to meet new people?
I prefer the bigger city, and I prefer knowing a lot more people, and I also just prefer the amount of new opportunities that you can have outside of a small town. And that's something that I really discovered when I got to college, was like, wow, there's so much more that I could be doing in my life career-wise than I grew up knowing about. So I would say I prefer the bigger cities, but I love the feel of a small town, and I love the feel of nature. So that's what I love about Atlanta specifically, is that there's so much nature around here. There's nature preserves, hikes, waterfalls, like there's everything here.
What path did you decide to take after high school?
So after high school, I was really debating on going to college or not, because I was not the best in school. And I was like, do I want to go through this again for 4 more years? I also didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, do I want to pursue the arts? Do I want to do science? Do I want to do... I would never do math, but like when I grew up in high school, I was just not exposed to a lot of different opportunities and career paths. I did love my high school film class, so I knew that was kind of where my interest in the film world began, was that class for sure. So I kind of knew that I loved that. And then when I got to college, I went in undecided because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And my mom pretty much forced me to go to college, which thank you, because I am grateful that I did go to college. And so I went in undecided, and I took a nutrition class my freshman year. And I was like, okay, this is fun. This comes easy to me. Let me make this my major. So at 18 years old, little young girl, I decided to do nutrition as my major, and I've never done anything with it since. So, and I pursued my love of acting and film.
What got you interested in acting? Have you always been interested at like a young age?
So I feel like I was always interested at a young age, but there was nowhere for me to really express that. Like my high school and my school didn't have a drama club or anything like that. I mean, in elementary school we had plays that we would do, but I never did those. So my real love for acting, and where I finally discovered that it's something that I really loved doing, was when I was in high school. I was actually a party princess, where I would go to children's birthday parties and dress up as a princess, like do their whole party, perform for them. And also we would go to children's hospitals, which was really fun. We would go to charity events, things like that. So I loved performing. And through that, I met a lot of people who were actors outside of this job. And they were the ones who kind of told me about acting and also modeling. I got into modeling at that time as well. And the people that I met through modeling were also actors. So they kind of told me a little bit about the film industry and what I should be doing. So from there, once I realized that I kind of loved this path, I was like, let me try out being an extra. And my sister was always sending me these like acting and modeling opportunities and these like extra things to sign up for. So I finally was like, okay, fine, I'll sign up for one. I signed up to be an extra and I got the job on the Netflix show, The Society, which sadly got canceled after one season. But I worked like 6 days on it. And it was such a wonderful experience because a lot of the people who I met on that set are still my good friends today. So the first job that I ever did like on a set, I'm still friends with those people. And without those people, I seriously would not be where I am today. Like they kind of showed me the ropes of what to do, told me what I needed to do. Even the makeup artist and the hairdresser on that set, when they were doing my hair and makeup, they were like, oh, so are you an actor? Like, why are you doing extra work? Like, what brought you here? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm very interested in getting into acting. This is kind of my first job where I'm exploring it a little bit. And she's like, oh girl, like you need to get on all these sites. You need to get on Actors Access. You need to get on casting networks. You need to get on, what's the other one? Backstage, and sign up for all of these mailing lists and start reaching out to agents and all this. Like this hairdresser and makeup artist, like she knew everything. And she's like, okay, this is what you got to do. So she kind of told me everything I needed to do. I sadly don't know who it is and don't remember her name because I don't know. I don't know why I don't remember. I should know. But yeah, I don't remember who that was, but shout out to you. If you were the hair and makeup for the background actors on Netflix's The Society, you helped me start my journey. So thank you. Thank you for that. So yeah, she really helped me figure out what to do. So immediately after my first day, my first of the 6 days, I signed up for all of the sites. I didn't really have a headshot or resume or anything at that time. All I had was like the background work, which I did put on my resume at the time, which I would not do now. And I wouldn't advise people to do that unless they're like really starting out and that's the only thing that they have. But
what episodes are you in?
I think it's like the later in the season, like 7, 8, 9, 10 or something like that. All of the ones where they're at the Thanksgiving dinner, any church scene or the outside scenes where they are like addressing the whole town. I'm in the town there. So it's later in the season.
So after you decide you want to be an actress, what are some of the first steps that actors take after they sign up for the casting websites?
Yes.
Like, what do you recommend? Should they go like do student films, indie films, or should they try to get on like the more paid professional stuff?
100%. Okay, so there are a couple things that you should do if you want to be an actor and you've signed up for all these sites. First things first is go on Facebook and join all of the film pages, all of the acting pages in your town, and start networking with people in your area. Even if you're in a small area, even if you're not in a big hub like LA, New York, or Atlanta, you still can find your film community there because I promise you there are people there who want to make movies and who need actors, and you are going to be one of those actors. So sign up for all of the Facebook pages in your in your area, all the Facebook groups, sign up for those, and then through there you'll meet people, you'll find casting calls, you can apply for them. Second thing is to get headshots. But before you do this, you don't want to just jump right in and go get headshots because that's not going to work. You need to figure out what kind of roles you want to play. So if you really, really want to do horror or thriller, you're going to want to get a little bit more of a dramatic looking headshot, more serious, probably wear darker colors. If you really want to do comedies, then you're probably going to want to get a brighter, light, happy headshot. My recommendation is getting a bunch of different ones just because you are starting out. So you kind of want to get a lot of range out of your headshots. You want to do drama, comedy, leading lady type, happy, smiling, romantic, ingenue, like a bunch of different looks just so that you can fill out your casting profiles and get jobs like that. Second is do everything you can if it's convenient for you. And by that, I mean, you're not going to want to do an unpaid job if you have to drive 3 hours away because it just won't really be worth it for you. And these unpaid jobs that you do at the beginning of your career probably are ones that you're never going to see again. and ones that are pretty much only there just to add a credit to your resume. Like, I guarantee you probably won't get that footage, which is really hard when you're first starting out because you want to see that footage and you want to see the work that you just did, but you probably won't be getting that back. But they're really great for your resume, and only do the unpaid ones if it's convenient for you. And when you are starting out, you're probably only going to get paid like $50 cash too when you go to your job, which is to be expected. So be aware of that. And also, like, be aware of scams too. You don't want to sign up for these Facebook groups and then find people who are like predatory. So definitely be aware of that. Forgot to say, acting class is number one. You need to be in those while you're doing all the things that I just said. That's how you build a community. That's how you meet people. And that is how you can get advice and understand your craft and learn your craft, which is the most important thing about being an actor, is your craft. The business side is secondary, even though it's still equally as important, but you have to be a good actor in order to, you know, be successful. So I think the biggest mistake that an actor can make in the beginning of their career is joining SAG way too soon. A lot of people use their background SAG vouchers because once you get 3 SAG vouchers from background work, you can join SAG. And a lot of people who have only ever done background work join SAG, which is great. You're in SAG now, but the way that you kind of build your career from the ground up, if you don't have any connections, is by doing non-union work. It's by doing student films, independent shorts. All of that is what's going to help you build your career and get better and grow. And once you join SAG, you can no longer do anything non-union. You can't be doing those student films anymore unless they're SAG. You can't be doing indies unless they're SAG. But it just limits you a lot on getting opportunity for you to grow. And it's just also going to be hard for you to find an agent if all they're seeing is your SAG, but then you don't have any credits on your resume. So that can hurt an actor at the beginning of their career, and I don't advise that. And non-union work is just, it's so great to get your foot into the door and to meet people who can get you maybe bigger jobs down the line, or these directors who you meet when you're working on a student film can be making the next great SAG independent feature that could win an Oscar or something. So these non-union films are really how you get to meet as well.
What are some of the big differences in working on those non-union projects versus working on the more professional, like SAG type projects?
There are things that are different about working on a SAG film and a non-union film, but the biggest differences is that on a SAG film, it's not as collaborative if you're in the cast of a SAG film, because there are people making all the creative decisions already, and you're just kind of there to be a catalyst for that and to, you know, make their visions come to life. But when you're working on a non-union indie film, there's so much more room for collaboration and putting your ideas in, and also having your vision of the character come to life more as well. I would say that's the biggest difference for me. And just crafty. That's huge. That's a big difference too.
Usually a lot of pizza on non-union stuff.
Yeah, a lot of pizza on non-union. I've had like the best food of my life on SAG sets. I'm like, how is this free right now? So good.
Do you think on non-union stuff it's easier to form friendships with like the crew and the cast than on SAG stuff? Because like you said, you are collaborating a lot more. Yeah,
in my experience, yes. But I think that's because on the SAG stuff that I have done, I haven't really been like a main lead cast member. So I've kind of had to like, you know, stay on the low, not really talk to people as much because you're in a way different environment. Things are way more high stakes, way more professional. So you can't really be like talking to everybody when the cameras aren't rolling, because like everyone is doing their job and kind of sticking to themselves if you're not like a main lead cast member. Like it's kind of hard to just strike up a conversation with someone on set because people have work to do. I mean, the PAs, you talk to them a lot because they're like your point of contact, but yeah, unless you're at lunch, then you can talk to people. But I would say it is easier on an indie non-union for sure.
Can you talk about some of like your milestone projects or projects that you're like really proud of and fond of?
Yeah, so my favorite thing that I worked on was this movie called Summer Interlude. It was a coming of age summer movie that we filmed last summer, and I'm really excited because it's coming out soon. and I can't wait for that. I'm so happy that I booked that because I've always wanted to do a coming of age, like summer feel good movie, and I finally did. So I'm so excited for that to come out. That was definitely a milestone for me because it was just a character that I've always wanted to play. She was like this cool surfer girl, and it was so fun. And then career-wise, my biggest credit that I have on my resume for network, I booked when I moved here to Atlanta. So that was a great first booking right when I got here. And that got me my first network credit. And that was a pretty big milestone for me because I was always like, once I have that network credit, I feel like people will take me a little bit more seriously. So far, it's still been really hard to get representation, even though I booked a network credit. So I'm still working on that, but it does make me feel better that I finally have a network credit because I'm like, yes, I've broken through that wall that's been really hard to be breaking through for the last 5 years. So finally, I'm really happy about that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on a Lifetime movie?
Yes, I can definitely tell you about that. My favorite Lifetime movie that I worked on was called Secrets Exposed, and it was filmed in Boston. And it was my first time on a big set being like one of the main characters. So it was a wonderful experience. Everyone was amazing. Everyone was so nice. I felt like I was kind of treated like in a good way. Like I had someone who like had a robe for me because like I had to have gasoline poured all over me. So I was like really wet all day for one of the shooting days. So like there was someone there who like got me a robe or like would get me water in between takes, and I was like, whoa, like I've never been treated like this before. It's crazy. So that was really fun because it was just a new experience, and I've never been that big of a character before in a film, and for it to be a Lifetime movie that's, you know, going on cable television was definitely an experience. And I met a lot of great people on that set who also helped me, you know, progress my career and give me some tips and advice. So that was really great. I'm still in contact with the director of that one. We talk occasionally. And yeah, I loved it a lot. It was really fun. I think I was on set for like 7 of the 14 days. So I was only there for half the days, but it was still a great experience. People
like to like joke on Lifetime movies because they're like can be cheesy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Since you've been on one, is it like cheesy when you're on set? Like, do you guys know that you guys are saying kind of like, you know, like cliche or cheesy lines,
yes.
or what are you guys thinking?
I think everyone knows that it's a little bit cheesy. Like they have to follow an algorithm. The scripts all have to follow an algorithm, and there are things that can't be done. Like the ingenue can't die. Like a lot of things can't happen in Lifetime movies that make them really cheesy. Even the directors of the Lifetime movies that I've done have been like, yeah, like this is quite interesting. We're allowed to change some of the lines up if it doesn't sound natural coming out of our mouths. So that's something that I also didn't really know when I first did my first Lifetime movie. I didn't really know that you did have the liberty of changing some of the lines if it didn't seem natural. And because it was my first big thing, I didn't want to cause any issues. So I kind of just said it how it was written. And I do wish that I knew that at the time, so I could have made it like a little bit more natural to me. But now that I know I can do that on movies like that and ask if I'm allowed to change something, like I feel so much better about it because then I can make it more natural to me. But it is known that they are cheesy, that they are, what's the word? Predictable. They're a little predictable, not gonna lie, but they're super fun and I love working on them. You're usually there for a while. They pay pretty good, so I love working on them.
Throughout your career pursuing acting, have you had to make any sacrifices?
Yes. This career takes a lot of sacrifice in many different ways. The first one being social life. When I was in college, I was pursuing this at the same time, so there were a lot of times where I would have to leave on a special occasion, like a friend's birthday or a big milestone, because I had to go film something, or I didn't, you know, hang out with my friends one night because I was filming auditions. And in college, like a big part of being in college is your social life. So I feel like I sacrificed a lot of that in order to pursue this, especially working on auditions. And I kind of wish I enjoyed the college experience a little bit more, but I am very grateful that I was pursuing it super hardcore while I was in college. Another sacrifice is stability. That's a big thing that you miss out on because this job is extremely unpredictable. You could be without a job for a year and then book 6 things in a row. You could book one thing 1 month and then not work again for 3 months. It's really unpredictable. You have no idea when your next booking is going to be. So the financial stability and just the job security in general is a huge sacrifice. And it's why a lot of people end up leaving this industry after their 20s, because if they don't get their big break, they're like, okay, I'm 30. I have to, like get my life together. So I feel like a lot of people in their 20s leave the industry because of that reason. Another sacrifice is time. This takes up a lot of time and it's unpaid time. So you don't really see the benefits of the unpaid time that you take putting into it unless you book a job. And people always say, why do actors get paid so much money? Like, they're getting paid millions of dollars for this movie, but it's because of all of the years of unpaid work that they've done and the months and months and months and months of character work that they have to do to prepare. That's what they're being paid for. Like, that's the work that they did that went unnoticed that got them the job. And that's why there's so much money to be made in the industry, like once you get some higher paying jobs, because of all of the unpaid work that you have to do. So that's a huge sacrifice. And it's really important that you find a job that you can do acting and, be able to be financially stable at the same time. So a job that's flexible enough for that. A lot of jobs that people have are, serving, bartending, that type of thing. Something where like the schedule isn't a normal 9 to 5. I taught for a year, which was a really great schedule. I got in at 7:30, got out at like 2:45. And then right after that, I was just working on auditions, submitting myself, doing so many things after work. And it was great because my PTO that I got, like I could just take a day if I booked something, which was really nice. I have worked every job under the sun, I think. I mean, every job that you can do without having like a trade degree or a degree in it. Like, I've been a cashier, I've been a waiter, a bartender, a beverage cart girl, a retail shop worker, a teacher, a purchasing intern at a manufacturing company, a receptionist, a camp counselor. Oh my goodness, so many jobs. I am an on-air host right now as my day job, and I also work at an acting studio. I've done everything. Babysitting, social media manager, graphic designer, so many things.
What do you think has been the best day jobs for you?
Right now, my day job that I have is my favorite day job. I'm an on-air host for a company called Casemate, and we make phone case accessories, which I have mine. This is my favorite case. It's called the Watermelon Blocks. So that's my favorite one. So I work there and I do their TikTok lives. So that's really fun because it's also acting at the same time. Like, I'm in front of the camera, I'm working on my speaking skills, my people skills. So that's my favorite day job. And it's so flexible because all my coworkers are also actors and my boss is an actor. So she completely understands if I book something, and it's low stakes. So I love that a lot. That's my favorite day job. And teaching was also one of my favorites as well. But this one's a little bit easier.
What's been your least favorite day job?
Waiting, being a waitress. That was my least favorite job on the planet. Especially closing shift was the worst. And people just treated you like shit. And it was the same place that I also bartended at. And when I was a bartender, I was treated so differently than when I was a waitress. It's like people just disrespect waiters, and it's terrible. I hate it. And I would never disrespect a waitress or a waiter ever.
How important is it for an actor to have a really strong day job?
I think it depends on how financially stable you want to be. Like, if you can pay your bills and only work a part-time job and still pursue this career, then that's great. It really depends on the person. Also, like, if you have a lot of money saved from when you were younger, you can be using that. That's great. it really depends on the person and what their goals are and what they want to do. Like if you're saving for a house or you're saving because you want to have children in the near future, like you probably need a full-time job at the same time as pursuing acting, which is completely doable. But it also depends on how much workload you want, because when I had a full-time job, I was working like 80 hours a week because I was also acting, working at my full-time job. Like it's a lot to handle with a full-time job.
Where did you find your day job right now?
So I actually found my day job on Indeed, which is really weird because it's for on-air hosting, which is not really something that you would find on Indeed because I had to audition, not really like interview. So it was definitely I was very lucky to find that job. I know there was like 800 applicants and she only hired like 4 of us. So I feel so lucky that I got that job. Also, like the people you know can help you get a job. Like if you know a lot of actors, you can be like, what are you doing for your day job? Like, are they hiring? That kind of thing. That's a good way to get into a day job that's pretty flexible with actors. But yeah, it really depends. I found jobs so unconventionally. Like I said, I've had a million jobs. My worst year for taxes was I had to file taxes for 13 jobs. Because like I was just working so many freelance jobs, like picking up a job here and there for like a month and then like doing something different. And taxes are terrible. And I still haven't done them. And I know they're due in like a couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes. I probably still have to file for like 10 jobs.
What are some of the hardest parts about being an actor in terms of like your craft? Like what do you struggle with the most?
Yeah, a really big part of the craft is also learning about yourself and peeling back the layers of yourself, learning about your emotional triggers, learning about how to be vulnerable, learning about how to step out of your comfort zone. And a lot of the things that like us as human beings don't really want to face on the day-to-day, actors kind of have to, because that's how you become and bring a character to life, is using your own like human experiences and emotions. And something that I think is really difficult is, well, one, every human being has their own experiences in life. They grew up differently. They've had their own adversities. They've had their own difficulties. And for me, a big part of what's held me back in my craft is vulnerability. And that's something that recently, like the past year, I've been really working on being able to allow myself to be more vulnerable when I'm working with really hard material. It's only hard for me like when it's very extremely emotional. Then for some reason, like there's like a disconnect with my vulnerability and like the character. So it's something that I've had to work on a lot, and add a lot of different emotional access tools into my toolkit, and work on learning how to access those emotions in a way that can also not trigger other things from my past. Like I don't like working with like trauma or anything like that. That's not really the way that I approach my emotions in acting. For me, the parts of a script that are hardest is when a scene starts out really happy and then halfway through you're bawling your eyes out and then like you become, I don't know, happy again or something. That type of really quick emotional change is something that I've been working on getting better at, and I have seen improvement, but it's taken me a while to be able to do that switch, like go from happy to like crying and then happy again. You know, it's like, that's tough because usually when I'm getting into a really emotional scene, I have to do a lot of prep work to get myself there emotionally. But when it's already starting out happy, you have to be really happy and then automatically go to sad. So sense memory is something that I've been exploring and it's been working. So
Is there certain type of material that like you don't feel comfortable kind of performing?
I've had to do scenes where I'm like racist before, like auditions. I've never booked anything being racist, but I've had to do some like racist auditions because, I mean, I'm a white person. So I think like, you know, when they book white people for racist roles, that makes sense. So I've had to do that. And I'm glad I didn't book them because it's not comfortable for me to do that. I went to a play 2 nights ago, and there was a white character in it, and he just kept saying like the N-word, and it was so uncomfortable, even though I knew it was like part of the story. But it's uncomfortable to see that and like to act that out. But I know it's not me, you know, it's the character. So, but yeah, I feel like racist stuff, I don't know if I would I'd be super comfortable with.
And so like taking on like really dark characters, like is that really like draining for an actor? Like does it sort of take a lot out of you to sort of live in like an evil person's kind of head for a long time?
Yeah, it is really draining to work on dark characters and also really emotional characters, because you have to be in that mental state for like a long time with days on end, especially if you're crying too. That's just like, it's so exhausting to cry. You just get home and just like decompress and just sleep immediately. But yeah, it is draining to be in those kind of mindsets. But that's why aftercare is really important, like making sure you have an activity or a place you can go to decompress and get out of that mindset and kind of snap back to reality.
How hard is it to cry on cue?
Oh my gosh. So that's kind of like what I was going back to with the vulnerability. Well, what I was talking about before with the vulnerability is, yeah, crying on cue. That's something that I've been working on. And that has to do with like your own inner work. Like you have to be completely okay with being like totally vulnerable in order to be able to cry on cue. But it is a skill. It's a skill. Anyone can learn it. Like it's not something that you're born with. Oh yes, I can cry on cue. I was born with it. Like it is a skill that you have to learn. And I'm still learning and working on it. It's a skill, you know, you got to practice and practice and practice. And I practice like when I'm driving or something, or which doesn't sound safe, but like I won't get to the point where I'm sobbing, but I'll just like practice getting a tear, you know.
You cry while driving?
Yeah, because it's like a place where I can just like tear, you know, just like produce a tear. Yeah, I do that.
Have you ever had any doubts about becoming an actress?
Definitely. I think because it's been about like 5 years now since I started, you know, doing this consistently and professionally. You do have doubts. You get doubts in your head because you're like, okay, it's been 5 months, I haven't booked anything, or I have reached out to 100 different reps and no one has gotten back to me. Like it is easy to get into that doubtful mindset for sure. But I just try to stay positive and I try to remind myself like this is a lifelong journey. There's no need to rush. There's always roles out there for you. And actually today, I did get a response back from one of the reps that I reached out to. I've reached out to so many reps this year in New York and LA. And someone in New York got back to me. So I'm very excited about that. But that definitely makes me feel a little bit down, is when I'm not getting any hits on like my auditions or emails to reps.
How important is it to have a community to lift you back up when things are going bad?
Community is the biggest aspect of this career. Without a community, it will be so hard for you to get anywhere because you need people who know exactly what you're going through, who understand what it's like to be pursuing a career in this industry, because normal people don't understand what the entertainment industry is like. And having that community of people who understand what you're going through is so huge to make you feel like you're not alone. Like without my community, I would not be where I am today. Also, like your community is how you network and how you can get other opportunities and jobs. Like I have gotten so many of my jobs because of like people that I know, the connections that people have put me in contact with. So yeah, definitely community is the biggest thing.
And where can people go to start building their community?
Facebook groups, like I was saying in the beginning, for sure, but also going to events in person. Like Eventbrite has a lot of, you know, like film events that you can go to meet filmmakers, other actors. Acting classes are huge.
Throughout your journey, have you had any big regrets so far?
I think my biggest regret is not doing more research on classes before taking them, because I've taken so many classes. Like I'm in classes weekly pretty much since I started for like 5 years. So the amount of classes I've taken is insane, but there have been a handful where I wish that I had maybe audited it first, done a little bit more research on the instructor before taking and paying for the class, because there has been classes where I've like, you know, gotten really nothing out of it. But it also depends on the person. Like some people love certain instructors that other people don't love. But I would say that's a pretty big regret because classes are really expensive. So I don't like looking back and thinking that I wasted like so much money on all these classes. And I don't think that taking agent workshops or casting director workshops are wise when you are just like really first starting out, because it's going to be wasting your money. You don't have the experience or the connections yet to be getting these bigger agents or, getting on the radar of these big casting directors anyway. You want to wait a little bit until you have some more on your resume and you have a good agent who's, submitting you for these parts with these casting directors. And that's why you do the workshops with them to get yourself on their radar. And yeah, so I think taking casting director workshops way too early on in my career and wasting money on classes that I should have audited first.
And what about in your personal life side? Do you have any regrets?
Personally,
Pursuing acting?
Not moving to Atlanta sooner. I lived in Boston for 2 years, and the second year that I signed my lease, I was like, I really was debating on coming here. But I was like, I don't know if I should. Like, I wasn't as financially stable as I was when I moved here when I did. So I think, my biggest regret is not coming here a year earlier.
What is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
In my whole life?
Yes.
The most important lesson that I've learned in my whole life is that what's meant for you will find you. What's meant for you will always find you, because if it's meant for you, then it's not going to pass you by. And if you miss out on an opportunity, it just means that it wasn't meant for you. So you will get what you're supposed to. Well, you will book what you're supposed to book.
And what are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm working on writing a couple things. I'm working on a TV series, writing a couple features, just getting my creative juices flowing. I'm also just working. My day job's working at a new acting studio and working at my on-air hosting job. I'm also auditioning. I don't have anything booked at the moment, but hopefully soon I will. I've booked a couple projects already this year, and I'm hoping for more.
Well, cool. Well, it was great to talk to you, Madison. Thank you for telling us about your story and some of your experiences. Looking forward to all the cool things you got coming out.
Yes, thank you.